The average person reads about 2 to 5 books a year. The last time I picked up a book was probably Roald Dahl in 2009. I was born in 2004. That's pretty bad, I know. Which is why I decided how many books I could read in the next 24 hours. Why? You might be asking why? That's a great question. Thanks so much for asking that question. I really do appreciate that question. That's because these 6 books I bought in January 2026. When was January? 8 months ago. What have I done since then? Niche. Have I read? None. Have these books been staring into my soul every single night? Yes. And I decided enough is enough. I'm gonna see for the next 24 hours how many books I could read. The only books I have though were these 6 books, and I bought them in the beginning of January thinking that I would read them because I was in my book talk era and that was trending and everybody was like, oh, reading is cool, reading is fun. I learned really quickly that I don't enjoy reading. Actually, yeah, I don't like it. I'm very much of a visual learner, visual representation, movies, shows, songs, give me that. Books, I just don't care for books. I know that's really bad and I shouldn't admit that and I shouldn't say that, but reading for me is like, I can't concentrate. I have like this mental disease where when I pick something up, I have to finish it and complete it right then and there. And if I don't do it, or if I put it down, I will never pick it up ever again. And I don't give a shit about it. And it will never cross my mind. Much like a lot of people in my life, which I've had to have a lot of conversations about that actually. That's why I decided if I just locked in for the next 24 hours, could I finish these 6 books? And this is how it went. Okay, so we started the day off fresh at 12 p.m. and the first 2 books I read were I Want to Die But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki and a poetry book, Rumi, Where Everything Is Music. These 2 books I decided to read first because I wanted to get done with like the quicker books first because I thought that these are like tiny and how hard could it possibly be and how long could it possibly take. It took me 2 hours. It took me on average 2 hours to read these 2 books. We started at 12, we finished at 2. Not a strong start. Am I proud of that achievement? No. Collectively, I think they're about 150 pages, so that makes it a little bit more embarrassing for me. But, promise, I swear to you, I passed my GCSEs. I really do promise you that I got good grades in English Lit and English Lang. And I need you to believe that and not hold this video against me that I'm illiterate. It took me a while to get used to it, and once I figured it out and I got into the gist of it, it was okay. The one thing I want to know about these books is that every single one of them is a different genre. 2 of them are kind of the same genre, but every single other one of them are different genres, and they're all by different, I was gonna say directors, they're all by different authors, which makes it even more interesting because none of these books are cohesive, none of these books go hand in hand, which I thought was, I don't know, it says a lot about me actually and how smart I am and, you know, how intellectual I can be. I finished 2 books in 2 hours. That was great. Then I took a break and then we moved on to the next book, and the next book was As Long as the Lemon Trees Grows. Now this book was obviously much longer. I believe I started this at 2 p.m. and didn't finish until maybe 4 p.m, which is, again, I realized quite quickly that it takes me on average, if I speed read, that it takes me about 2.5 hours to finish one book, no matter the length. It did hit the heart and hit the ego a little bit, but that's okay. Anyways, As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow. Again, because this book was a little bit longer, I feel like it took me a bit more to get into it and get into the vibes and enjoy it. But then once I fully got into it, oh my god. I will give a review at the end for all of these books, but fuck me was this book. It kept me on the edge of my foot. Thank shit. Like, honestly, thank God that this book was interesting. If it wasn't interesting, I feel like the length would have put me off and I would have not finished it. But oh my God, I think it's one of those books that's gonna stay with me forever, if I'm being honest with you. It was a journey, but we got there in the end. By the time it was 4 p.m, maybe 4:30 p.m, I finished the book and I needed a break. Hello. Guys, I'm tired and I'm bored and I don't want to read anymore. Guys, honestly, I don't want to read anymore. I can't be bothered. I'm in my bed. And somehow, someway, the curtains closed and the blanket came on top of me. And now I'm just living my best life. And no, I don't I don't want to read. I'm over it. I'm tired of words. I've read 3 books, but I'm tired of words. I'm tired of pages. And that last book absolutely traumatized me. I cried because I thought it was going to be so sad. I thought it was going to be a sad ending. Thank God it wasn't a sad. I don't know what I would have done if it was a sad ending. I would have ended it right there and then. I would have thrown the book out my window. After that, I realized I was kind of in a slump. Because this book impacted me so much, I needed like a 30 minute to an hour break because it hit me that hard. Because it affected me that much in my heart, and it absolutely shattered my soul and made me cry tears I've never cried in my life. I needed a break. Nonetheless, we had to move on to the next book, The Ragdoll by Daniel Cole. This was the next book. Unfortunately though, after the previous devastation and my heart breaking and shattering into 1,000 tiny pieces, and I can never see the word 1,000 times, 1,000 splendid suns, 1,000 times over for you. Enough. I needed a break. So I was feeling very unmotivated, and by the time it hit 4 p.m, I didn't give a flying shit about reading anymore. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I don't want to lie. I was feeling like I wanted to kill myself and never pick up a book again, which makes sense for me. But 4 p.m, I decided to do what every literate bitch on the planet does. To play the part, you gotta look the part. So I got all cutesy, dressed up, and went to my local cafe, got some matcha, and I decided to read the book and be all aesthetic-y, because I feel like aesthetics is a part of reading a book. If you don't have the aesthetics, then there's no point in reading the book at all, to be honest with you. It took me a while, I'm not gonna lie, to find interest in this book. Again, I'm gonna give you guys a review later, but it was okay. And it wasn't as long as the previous one, and it wasn't as devastating or interesting as the previous one. I think I did find my niche in books and the type of books that the genre that I do prefer, but this was okay. And by the time it reached 6 p.m, I had finally finished book number 4 or 3, 4, whatever. I finished the damn book. The next book to absolutely shatter my soul was The Kite Runner. Everybody Notebook and Pens. This book genuinely destroyed me. After the first heartbreak early in the morning of As Long as the Lemon Trees Go, I decided, of course, I have to break my heart again and go through the treacherous torment of heartbreak and pain and being a fat empath. A second devastating book. I see I have a specific genre that I tend to lean towards, and it might be very showing of my personality, but hey, this book again absolutely devastating. Unfortunately though, I was in a little bit of a slum. I was in a reading slum where I didn't want to pick up another book for the next 68 years of my life. 68 plus years on a TikTok. And As Long as the Lemon Trees Grows actually shattered my soul to the point where I needed to take time off, but I had to push through. I had it coming. I knew from the TikToks that I've watched and the research I've done that this book was absolutely devastating and heartbreaking, so I tried to bear myself for it. It didn't matter. By the time it reached 6 p.m, I have never cried tears from pages on words more in my entire life than these 2 books combined. This plus As Long as the Lemon Trees Goes, and they're different authors. Guys, these are different authors. They're not the same authors, and yet somehow I feel like they are spiritually connected. I can't even talk about it. I can't talk about it because it upsets me visibly thinking about the book. And it was time for the last book. Now, I dreaded this book the most. Why? It's not because of the plot. It's not because of the author. It's not because I know what was going to happen. It was the fucking size of the book. What could be possibly said in this much depth? What could if you have this much to say, split it into 2 books. Funnily enough, she actually has 4 books from 9 p.m. all the way until 3 a.m. You may be thinking, me, that's cheating. Why are you reading until 3 a.m? That's technically the next day. First of all, suck him up and mind your business. Second of all, it's not. The time is currently 10 p.m. and no, I promise I'm not trying to be transracial. It's a face mask. Let's all calm down and pretend that we've seen somebody do a face mask before, because it's not that crazy. It's not that crazy for a girl who's breaking out to do a face mask. Anyway, that's besides the point. The point is that it's 10 p.m. It took me an hour to recover from the last book, and it took me 2 hours before that to recover from the last book. But we must push through, because the last book is genuinely the longest, fattest book. Okay, let me show you guys the last book. Hold on. This is the last book. Now this is one of the books, this is one of, if not the only book that TikTok influenced me to buy. The whole, apparently it's enemies to lovers. It's like, I can't even remember what it was that influenced me to buy this book, but apparently it's really good. And there's like 4 other books after this. There's 3 books after this apparently. I didn't realize though, once I picked it up from Waterstones that late January 65 years ago, is that it is this thick. Some might say it's even thicker than my brain. Why does a book need to be this thick? If you have this many thoughts to put out on a page, split it into sections or make a show. How am I supposed to read this? Okay, here's the thing. The thought process, I feel like I'm yelling. The thought process behind this is that technically, Islamically, spiritually speaking, the next day hath not arrived until the dawn has dusk. The next day hath not arriveth until the sun has riseth. And has the sun riseth? No. So I'm giving myself until Fajr time, 3 a.m, 3 hours from now, to finish this book. We're locking in 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. I'm gonna finish this. I believe I can do it. After this though, genuinely from the bottom of my heart, I never want to read anything ever again. I really don't want to do this. Every bone in my body is telling me not to do this, but I have to commit. It's literally the last books. Save the last for the best, I guess. So here we are. Cue the fucking time lapse, bro. This book, let me tell you something, from 9 p.m. onwards, it took me so long to get used to it. It took me so long. I will say, it is well, I'm not gonna bash the author. It is definitely well written and I'm definitely interested in it, but my god, was it so long, and it took me so long to get it. However, the plot definitely makes up for it. Eventually, after reading, it hit 3 a.m. on the dot. Again, I have no proof of that because I'm stupid, but it hit 3 a.m. on the dot, I promise. And I finished this fucking book. I finished it. It took me from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. to finish this book, guys. And let me tell you, it was flipping worth it. Guys, it's 3 a.m. and I'm going to sleep for the rest of the year. Safe to say, I finished the book. Words were slurring. I was a little bit tired, but I might reread the end in the morning. Safe to say, I read the words literally. I don't know if I understood what I was reading though, but it was good. And I did it, I finished. And just like that, I had read all the books. So now it's time. Review time! Number 1. I Want to Die But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki. Great book, very therapeutic, very eye-opening. It's not much of like fiction or a plot to it, so don't go into it thinking that. I kind of went into it thinking that she would talk more about herself. I didn't realize that she was talking to a therapist most of the time. It's sad that the authors died. I think that made it more sad for me, but it also made it really realistic. She talks about depression, she talks about her relationships with her siblings. A lot of it was very relatable, and I really appreciate this book, and I will be picking up the second book because I really did like it. Honestly, I've not only seen this book on social media, but I've seen this book so many times in Waterstones. Every time I went in there to roam around, I always saw this book and I wanted to know what it was about. So I'm really glad I picked it up, and I'm really glad that I read it. I think it's definitely worth the money, and it's definitely more of a self-help book in the sense that it doesn't tell you like what's right or wrong, and the therapist doesn't tell you either, but it is more eye-opening, and you can kind of see through her actions and through her life what is kind of right and what's wrong and what's okay for her, you know. But yeah, I really appreciate this book. Actually, it's really nice. Number 2, this book was kind of different because it's technically, I don't know if a lot of people would classify this as a book because it's just a book full of poems. I love poetry. I've always loved poetry. Poetry is something that I've loved in my heart for many years, especially when I was younger, when I was a kid. I loved poetry. Like, I was a die-hard poetry fan. Don't ask me what my favorite poem is because I don't know, but I love I prefer tiny pieces of literature and just literature in general and poetry more like this. It's cool. It has very specific poems about love, loss. I've always understood poetry more than I've understood anything else, and to me it doesn't make sense when people can't understand poetry and can't understand poems. And I hate that people, like close-minded people, have a very specific view of what poetry is, and that, oh, it's just words rhyming on a page and it's cringy and stuff like that just because we had to do it when we were in year 6. But that's not true. I think a lot can be said through poems, and I really appreciate them. They'll always have a special place in my heart, and I really appreciate this book. I think I am gonna go back through it again and annotate it and appreciate it more and buy more poetry, because I do love poetry and I forgot how much I love it. Like, I took such a long break from it, but when I was like really depressed, I loved poetry and I would write poems all the time. But ever since I've not been as much of it in a dark place like I used to be back in the days, like years ago, I found that I've kind of stepped away from it. And it reminds me of that quote: the most painful moments in our life brings out the most beautiful literature and the most beautiful art. Like, pain and heartbreak and grief and all these horrible things that we experience as human beings really does bring out the most beautiful art for others to see and others to connect to. And I think that's true. 6 out of 10. I would say I'm quite neutral on this book, but I really did like it, so I'm gonna say 6 out of 10. For this one, I'm gonna say 8 out of 10. The Ragdoll. I need this book to be a show immediately. Again, if this book was a show, this is the type of book that I see and I read the synopsis and I'm like, I need this to be a BBC iPlayer show. Like, I need BBC, I need ITV, I need Paramount, I need somebody to cling on to this idea and this book and to create it into a visual masterpiece, because I know it could be so good. It could be so good, and I feel like shows like this do exist. I enjoyed it. I think the plot was interesting, but it was also in the middle of it, I think it kind of got boring as they brought in a lot of characters, but the ending was very shocking, and I love that they brought it onto a cliffhanger. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, the main reason I brought this book was because I watched a Stephanie Sue podcast, and one of the murderers, he murdered a woman, and he read this book, and this book kind of convinced him to commit those murders, or like commit the murder, a murder, or those murders, I can't remember. In a podcast, Stephanie Sue talks about this book, and she says that he read this book and he loved it, or like it kind of like convinced him or edged him on or whatever. He was like really fascinated about it, and so I got fascinated about it. Not in a creepy way though, not like in a creepy weird man type of way, in like a woman I want to read, I'm interested in crime type of way, you know. And it was good, but I really couldn't help but visualize this as a really sick, funny, twisted British show, and I need this to be a show. So somebody make this a show. Thank you. As long as the lemon trees go, I cannot tell you how I feel about these books without talking about all of them. The Kite Runner and As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow are genuinely, and believe it or not, I have read 1,000 Splendid Suns. I believe I read that last year. These 3 books, don't tell me how, don't ask me how, but these 3 books are actually connected. They're like connected in a way that I can't explain, but they are connected, and I feel like they could be a show where each season is based off of each book, or like each movie is based off of each book. As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow, I cannot kid you enough, spoiler alert, but I cannot express enough how stressed I was that this was going to end badly, and how stressed I was that this was going to be horrible. But the love story mixed with like the war and the torture and like everything, chef's kiss. I literally 10 out of 10, genuinely 10 out of 10. This 10 out of 10. I figured out that this is my favorite genre, guys, but I love this genre. This genre of books is what is close to my heart, because I love it so much and I enjoy it so much, and I think that more people should read these books. And I say this all the time. I said this while reading it, and I cried because I thought about how when the sad stuff was happening in each book, again, I won't give spoilers, but when Hassan goes through what he goes through in this book, these characters go through what they go through in these books. Genuinely, it just reminded me and made my heart ache more, and I think I cried more thinking about the fact that these aren't books. And I think to a lot of people who read these books, they aren't books, and they're not just fiction. They're not fiction at all, actually. They're biographies. They're autobiographies, they're memoirs. These are people's lives, and it broke my heart more. I'm gonna start crying again. It broke my heart more because it is actually real people's lives. Like there is a woman out there living exactly the same life as the one in 1,000 Splendid Suns. There is little boys out there living like this, bro, and going through these things. There are people like this who are going through what these people went through in this book. You know, the whole boat scene towards the end, the biting on the lemons, and the quotes, and the having to like raise their own spirits, and having to have hope, but it's the fact that it's the hope that kills you. You know what I mean? I love these books. 10 out of 10, absolutely zero notes. Just I can't talk about these books. I won't ever discuss these books ever. Can't talk here, email me, and I won't respond back because these books broke my heart. That being said, if there are more books out there like this, I definitely 100% I'm gonna read them. Again, to me, these are not fiction. It may be based off of fiction and it may be based off of true story, but to me these are real people's lives, because there are people out there who are living like this, guys, right now. I think it's so important to read books like this. Out of all the books that I chose, I do believe, genuinely, hand on heart, books like this plus 1,000 Splendid Suns are books that should be read, especially nowadays, especially nowadays, especially if you struggle to see the third point of view, if you struggle to see like how other people live and what life looks like on the other side of the planet. In our privilege, you kind of sometimes forget that. Reading books like this genuinely humbles you and brings you back down to earth, because as much as they are fiction and they're exaggerated to be like fiction, 90% of it is not. Like the baseline of these books is not fiction. Like people are going through this right now, and that's why I think these books will be dear to my heart always. These are my number one choices. These books are hands down amazing. MasterChef, chef's kiss. And last but not least, Binding 13. As aching and as long and sometimes a little bit boring as this book was, it was interesting, and I will say I grew to it. Like it grew to me. It grew on me. It grew on me. It grew on me. The characters in this book, the two characters in this book, Shannon Lynch and Johnny and Kevin, I will say Shannon in the beginning, very cringy. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, guys. I'm not gonna glaze it. I'm over cringy books. I'm over the Wattpad era-esque style of writing. It was very cringy. The whole fragile, like, I'm too fragile and I'm so weak, and like I'm so tiny, and they kept repeating in the beginning, she's so tiny, like I'm so tiny, I'm so skinny, I'm so weak, and I was like I hate it. I was like, I can't take this shit seriously. Johnny is hilarious. I will say you do grow on these characters and you build like I love a found family trope, guys. I love a found family trope. A found family trope to me is everything. I love it. Give me that, feed me that all day in movies and books and shows, everything. So when this kind of like becomes a fan family trope, but it also, you grow to understand why these characters are the way they are, the trauma that they face and everything, it's really good. You really hold on to it. It's really realistic. I also love books that aren't American. I'm sorry, guys. I don't like on top of it, you're going to be cringy, and on top of it, it's going to be like high schooly, but then on top of that, it's going to be American. Like American, seriously. But Irish books, British books, like that are based in secondary school or college or whatever, love, because I feel like it's more realistic and I'm able to picture it more in my head because I've seen it, you know what I mean, or I'm used to, like I'm close to it, so I can picture it more. But I could visualize this book. Love. And the cliffhanger, nobody told me there was going to be a cliffhanger. Also, for some weird reason, I don't know why, because I bought this book ages ago, I thought it was going to be about supernatural powers and shit like that, so I was so confused when I wasn't getting that, because I was like, why else would it be like this thick? And then I realized it's nothing like that. I picked up the wrong book, but that's okay, because this book was also worth it, and I will be buying the second book. And the cliffhanger was everything, guys. The cliffhanger, oh my god, it's because you can visualize it. I started visualizing it, and oh my god, again, I heard though that book is becoming a show. I'm so intrigued to see how they're going to portray that into a show, because it's so perfect and it's so well done, as cringy as it is a little bit, but it's so well done. I don't think the show can do it justice. It depends on who's making the show as well. If it's Netflix, it's gonna be shit, but I don't know, I feel like they didn't do a Good Girl's Guide to Murder justice. I really didn't enjoy A Good Girl's Guide to Murder at all. It disappointed me very much so. So I really hope they do justice with Binding 13. But I don't know, I've heard some rumours that she's a singer or whatever. I don't know, I'm not really feeling that vibe. Overall, I will give this book, because it's too long for me, and it was a little bit cringy in the beginning, but the plot twist made it better, and you kind of grow on the characters and you start to really love the characters and feel protective over them. And I love a good found family trope. I'm gonna say this book I'm gonna give this book a 9 out of 10. I think that's a good place for me, a 9 out of 10. I will say, reading this at 2 to 3 a.m, half awake, no coffee in my system, no energy, eyes half closed. I was reading like this. At one point I was reading like this just because I wanted to push through. But I did it. When the ending came and that cliffhanger, the cliffhanger, I'll tell you what, I will be buying that second book, thank you very much. And that is it, ladies and ladies. I read 6 books in 24 hours, and now I never have to think about for the rest of the year if I read any books, and I don't have to feel bad when I scroll on my doom scrolling and everybody's like, yeah, I read this book and I read this book and you should read this book and I love reading and I love reading. You BookTok girlies really did make me feel like shit. And now what? Now what? I read 6 books in 24 hours, bitch. I'm joking. All love and respect. But it's like a weight has been lifted off of my chest, because these books have been staring into my soul every night since I bought them, and I'm so glad that it's over and done with. Now I read 6 books in 24 hours. And I can't believe I just did that. I actually can't believe I did that. But I never want to see a book again. And they're all such different genres, which made it so much more interesting. I feel like if they were the same genre and the same type of book, I think I would have hated it more and not cared enough. But because they were so different, it was like switching up in my mind, and it was like, you know what I mean? It was like, please don't hate yourself, guys. Guys, please don't hate yourself. Anyways, ta-ta, bye-bye.